Thanks. Yes, it is. I love that thing because I can't do this. Oh, I have to.
Call the meeting to order. If everybody stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one people, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Absolutely. Tanya Davis,
Here.
Ryan Rummel,
Here.
Debbie Wyatt here, Fred Spence,
Here.
Vanessa Battaglia.
Here. And we have a quorum. I need a motion to approve the meeting agenda if there's no changes.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting agenda for tonight.
My second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And a motion to approve minutes from October 7th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from October 7, 2024.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. On to new business. We have Beth with Bookkeeping Plus. Is she online? There she is.
I am.
Hi.
Hello. First, I wanted to thank everyone for the beautiful planner that you sent for the council and the town for my father's funeral. I really appreciate that and your thoughts and prayers. Okay, so you have the budget we just have to approve. So it's been presented. We've had the public hearing, answer questions. Just so you know, the budget you're approving, although it has increases in for salaries, the salary resolution is what sets the salaries. So whatever's in this budget is not, it can vary from that. So just know, because I know that's been questioned in the past. Our total budget that we're wanting to approve tonight is $6,027,232, and the adopted tax levy, including the cumulative capital development as well as the your debt, is $2,750,153. So basically, if there's no questions, then just need a motion, or I can answer any questions.
Any questions?
Mm-mm.
We're looking for a motion to approve the budget.
Make a motion to approve the budget for 2025.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
So there's a form that you will sign, and then you'll just send it to me tomorrow. I don't know if it's Missy's there or not, but someone, and then I'll get it ready for submission for Missy to submit. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thanks, Beth.
Thanks, Beth.
Thanks.
second page here. Okay, so next up, we have council to consider appointment for the vacant seat of the BZA or the Board of Zoning Appeals. We had two candidates, Sean Simmons and Adam Strahan. Would anybody like to make a nomination for either one?
I make a nomination for Sean Simmons. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Sean Simmons is now the new member of the BZA. Thank you. Next, we have the appointment for the vacant seat on the Fortville Planning Commission. We only had one candidate apply, and that was Chris McCreight, who currently sits on the RDC as well. So I'll make a nomination to accept his application for a planning commission.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next up, we have council to consider adopting resolution number 2024-10A. 10. A new 10-year comprehensive plan land use map as an amendment to the 2014 Fortville Comprehensive Plan. And there's exhibits attached here. Adam, you want to present that, please?
All right, so if you recall, this particular item came about last year as something to take a look at. And some of the problems that were mentioned at that point last year is that the current map in use from 2016, the problems are that the land uses are too basic. There's really not enough vision for how land and different uses would be used around town. Of course, it's 8 years old, it's outdated. The coverage area is ambiguous. It anticipated very little residential growth, and as you can see, it's predominantly agricultural. And it really didn't set out a vision for the future town boundaries or the build-out area. And so it doesn't answer the question of how big the town would actually be geographically in the future. So the map that you're being asked to consider here tonight, this was completed all in-house without expensive out-of-town consultants. We did incorporate public charrette comments, and it's a 10-year horizon, so it takes it out to 2034. And it addresses some of those shortcomings of the existing plan that I just mentioned. It creates a clearer vision of uses and future boundaries. And the area covered by the plan reflects the future town limits at build out. So that'd be partially into Madison County to the north. And 1100 north is the north boundary. with the exception of that panhandle. The east boundary would be State Route 9. The south boundary would be 600 north, and then the west boundary is 400 west. And it also includes a downtown inset for ease of use. And as part of this resolution tonight, you'd be adopting these land use categories, which would be visual examples and descriptions to accompany these maps.
Can we make changes on this map?
Sure.
Suggestions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I believe so. I'll defer to Alex. It has been certified by the Plan Commission. So the Plan Commission at their September meeting is unanimously recommending approval. But actually, why don't we answer that question right now?
You can send it back for recommendations for change.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So the first category is agricultural, and they're generally flat, large areas of farmland. They can include homestead homes. They may contain floodplain and or floodways. And as you see on the map, they're generally located east of County Road 50 West and south of County Road 700 North. And so the idea here is really to keep these areas as scenic, productive farmland for as long as possible. Try to prohibit suburban sprawl in these areas. Well and septic would be okay. Really functions as a de facto growth boundary. And as the town grows outward, these areas could be identified for more suburban development beyond 2034. Next category is residential, estate/rural. And these are generally properties that are at least 1 acre in size. Single family, typically custom built. Properties may contain floodplain or floodway and are therefore usually more challenging to develop for suburban tract home development. And these land uses can be found throughout the planning area. And it could be on well and septic if no municipal water and sewer is available. And it can also be developed into a large lot subdivision. The other thing that I should add too that's really important is that this map does not change anybody's existing zoning. So we're not doing a townwide rezone as part of it. The way that this map would come into play is if, say, a developer, or really anybody is looking to rezone a piece of property, then we would look at this map. We'd also look at the rest of the comprehensive plan. Of course, it has policies that are still relevant today, but we would also look at this land use map. And that would be a tool that you can use and the Plan Commission can use as well to see if a rezone in particular is a good idea or not. So moving ahead, this next land use category is residential suburban. And it's generally intended for high quality tract home communities by major national home builders with a good amount of curb appeal. Could be in planned unit developments. Usually the land is flat and easy to develop, i.e. no major floodplain issues. Typically would be acquired by a developer from a single landowner. Usual typical suburban lot sizes, say 50 feet wide to 65 foot wide. And they're typically on municipal utilities, town and water and sewer. Next category, as we continue to get more dense, would be residential, traditional/neo-traditional. And this is really classic pre-World War II style development. Could have detached garages, porches, could be alley loaded development. Garages, if front loaded and attached, are usually pushed back. Traditional architecture, they could be on lots less than 50 feet wide, shallow setbacks, and they could be 1 to 2 family homes. Next category is multifamily suburban, generally no higher than 3 stories, not intended to be mixed use. They could be in the form of an apartment complex or attached condominiums. Next category is multifamily/commercial, small town/urban. So this is our mixed use district, and this is similar to the existing pre-World War II commercial development found in a small town, i.e. Main Street. Could be all commercial, all multifamily, or a mix. And it could feature commercial on the first floor, residential units above, generally no higher than 3 stories, and shallow or no front setbacks up to the right of way, very walkable areas. Next category is commercial suburban. This is generally intended for quality suburban chain development, retail, or services. Could include good quality, small commercial strip plazas. It's more auto-oriented development with a walkable component, and it could include other smaller commercial uses like self-storage, small warehouses, things like that, which is why you may see a little bit of those land uses within the downtown area. Next category is industrial / flex office, and this is generally intended for light industrial developments, smaller warehouses. It's similar to buildings in the existing Fortville Industrial Park and the Debo Cook Industrial Park off of 1000 West or 96th Street. It can also include office developments, and it's not anticipated to have large-scale industrial warehouses like the Mount Comfort corridor. Next category is institutional. That includes churches, government-owned land, schools, cemeteries, etc. And then the last category is parks, open space, recreation, and that can include public parks. It can also include private HOA-owned parks as well. So with that, if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to address those.
Yeah. Can I make a suggestion at 367? That being more multifamily, either suburb or commercial. As you know, our sewer line has to come down 300 into our sewer line, into the sewer. You know where 300 is, right?
Right. So 367.
It's 67. It's red there, industrial, but behind our commercial suburb. But behind there, I'm thinking that should be multifamily, commercial or suburb, just because of the sewer lines. We want to try to build out from our shortest distance to our sewer.
Yeah, let me,
I'm trying to encourage.
I'm gonna open up a PDF of the map here.
Okay.
See a little better.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is 300 right
Yeah.
here.
You see how you got the yellow there?
Yeah,
Right there?
And we've got
And
it.
that's right behind Moondrop.
Right.
And all those commercial behind the fire station. What I was thinking, you know how we're having problems getting developers to want to build a lift station way out here for $2 million and then run it down 900, then up 300. It seems to me we would want to try to encourage development there and backfill in the sewer lines. You know what I'm saying? Back to 900 and then over. Does that make sense to you?
It does. It does. I would, I'd say a couple things. Here is the thought process is first for the suburban residential category, think Mount Vernon North is probably a good example of the level of density that they'd say. Even Windstone would be in that category in terms of density. And that's a different category, of course, than the rural residential, which is more of these green areas over here, which those are much larger lot, more rural in nature. So one thing that could give you some one thing to consider is that the suburban level growth in that area, they would be denser subdivisions rather than very rural or sprawled out. So, and then lastly, at least the other thought process was
My thought process was that 55 and older and apartments there, get them closer to downtown where they're easily walkable distances. Where if we create a multifamily there, because then they could come in behind the fire station. We could put a road there, and then they could get to downtown a lot easier with golf carts and try to build that there
Mhm.
and move our way out or back, backfill rather than out here where we're having problems getting the lift station and the sewers.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Where we're trying to
It
get
does.
closer and
Mhm.
compact it on 67. So to make a suggestion for a change, we'd have to go back to the planning commission.
So you teed it up for me. I was getting ready just to clarify
Oh.
for everyone what that process is. So you have a resolution in front of you. You can adopt the resolution to accept the certified plan that you have in front of you as certified by the plan commission, and then that's what the comp plan is. You can adopt the resolution and reject this plan in whole. And if that happens, the rejection resolution goes back to the plan commission. They can either start over or make amendments and send them back. Or for instance, if the council wants to take up Fritz's proposed changes here, you'd adopt the resolution tonight with that amendment. So I think if I'm hearing you right, Fritz, it would color in that parcel or a few of those parcels as brown or pink. And then you'd adopt that resolution. Resolution goes back to the plan commission for consideration. Plan commission can accept your resolution or send it back. Or if they do nothing, then what the council, if they reject the council's proposed changes, then the council can play the final trump card and re-adopt the resolution. And it would be brown and pink, brown or pink there. So there's some interplay back and forth.
What, I mean,
But what you're doing tonight is the council should, if you take action on this resolution tonight and don't table it, then you'll adopt a resolution that would either approve it as presented, reject it in whole, or approve it with amendments like Fritz is talking about or any others.
Well, first, before we make a change, does that make sense to you to make that multifamily?
The purple,
Change it from what to what? You want to change
is
it?
it the flex?
Well, I
office?
want to change it to multifamily commercial or multifamily suburb, because to me, what we want to do is try to make this area more dense to
Is
get
it
to
the
people.
purple?
Yes, right there.
The residential
Right.
suburban.
Right, because that's right behind Moondrop. And just to me, it seems like if we would want that to be more dense over there as you're coming into town, because there's going to be amenities there in the future for people to just walk to 67. And, they can walk to the coffee scooters. They can walk to the BP. They can walk to all these places. And it just makes sense to me to try to make that more condensed there. And then we're closer to the sewer also, reducing cost for the developer.
So you want two of them or just the one?
I think that should be the backfill to there, the multi-fill, yeah.
Both of them or just the
Down to
one?
900.
What do you think, madam? I mean,
I think it's a really good point and a good case. I think, anytime we do multifamily, we obviously want to get it around something that people can walk to. And obviously sometimes that's hard to do because of our land use patterns. But yeah, the bottom line is I think if you guys wanted to see, let's see,
yeah, I'd like to see walking trail.
well, here's what we could do is there's no, in my view, there's no great rush to get this adopted tonight. So what I would, what I'd rather do is, how about at the next council meeting, I'll come back with a revised area over here so you can see how that would lay out. And then if you want to adopt it with those changes, then we can take it to the Plan Commission at their November meeting. to
We
consider it.
also, Joe had talked about the two properties on Main Street too, that were down towards Church Street, that were, there's something different. I think you might have changed it on here. I didn't see it. Do you remember what?
Between
Um,
these two orange properties right here
yeah,
on this.
and the last block there, right before Church Street on Main, there's two in orange
Let's go back to.
between,
The two.
that and Church on Main. That would be the two houses next to the old library. In between the two houses, in between the old Cadell home and,
Okay, which one are we talking about? Let's see.
Up, right there in front of church, right there.
right there.
Oh, these two
Yeah.
over here. Multifamily. So you can get the here. Yeah, I mean, that could go, commercial. You could do, this.
It just needs to stay
neighborhood
maybe
commercial.
pink like the rest of them, I would think. I don't know why those two are.
Those two
considered
are,
residential, traditional.
yeah,
They can remain residential as long as, they're being used for that.
Well, for sure, yeah.
yeah, I
Matter.
think, but at least the thought process there was they're two, traditional type of homes. We haven't got any proposals for anybody that wants to change it. So just. Yeah, but that being said, I think it's a
could
good
be.
point that I could see somebody wanting to do a law office or a little shop, so. If you were inclined to want to change that, now's a good time to throw that in there as well.
Yeah, I'm all for seeing it at the next meeting, what it would look like.
Okay.
I had a question, Adam. Are these all to scale, this map?
Mhm.
Because it appears as though my property and my two adjacent neighbors, our properties are truncated, so how does that come about?
So, over here, the thinking was that, first, as a property owner, you're always in the driver's seat as to what you do with your property. So that first and foremost, that's always important to know. For these properties, not just yours, but your neighbors over here on Garden Street, they're very deep properties. And, the houses that are up along Garden are very nice traditional homes. So, I could envision a scenario whereby somebody acquires all of these properties at one point and they want to do a larger commercial development. And let's say they were to buy some land from you and the neighbors to make that happen. Then the depth on those lots would be shorter, but you'd still have the house and more of an urban yard. Again, you'd be in control if you wanted to do that. Or if you say, no, the likelihood of that happening is low, we'd probably want to keep them as larger, deeper lots. Then we could always consider, keeping those larger,
Well,
deeper lots.
it's my property, so
But that-
nobody else gets to consider what happens with private property. My question is, this is your idea of what should happen?
Could happen.
It's an idea of what could happen realistically. But like I said, you're always in control because we're showing, and it's an important point to make is that, as I said, we're not changing zoning. So that current zoning will always supersede anything on this map. Secondly, the logic in putting these comprehensive plan maps together in the first place is you're taking the existing constraints with the land that are there, also with the type of development patterns that the town would like to see, and where these different land uses could fit, given the different constraints. So So that was the thought process there, but, you know, if you say, I don't think that's ever going to happen, I'd prefer that these 3 lots or this stretch on Garden is kept as, residential in perpetuity, then we can always look to change that.
Yeah,
make sense?
I'd be inclined in that direction. Yes, I understand it. I'm uncomfortable adopting a map that suggests that my property and other people's properties are different than what they are. We weren't consulted, so, you know, I don't think that I would be adopting.
I don't think that's the
particular
idea of the
map.
map, but I mean, you can make it however you
Really
want.
not.
but- I mean, my property is the same way, but
Well, and I'm saying this could be for anybody in town, and I just noticed my property, because you always look for your house on the map, so.
your suggestion, like if somebody were to look at it like a commercial and be like, oh, that's what they're thinking about, maybe I'll put an offer into Vanessa
It's,
for her property.
it's hyperstition. Nobody thinks about it until somebody else suggests it, and somebody else is suggesting something to happen to my property right now. So that's my concern. I understand about development and, you know, plans and things, but I
Yeah.
don't like plans that take place in my backyard, literally. So,
I-
you know,
You should make Vanessa's property exactly how it is now. I mean,
I think everybody should
Be
have a
fine.
chance to weigh in on this because nobody was consulted. So,
yeah, we had, you know, public meetings and the public came and we did lots of public consultation last year.
so meetings.
Yeah, public meetings.
Brett,
Charrette, we call
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah. We had tables set up with markers
And
and.
everybody put in.
When did it happen?
It's about 6 months ago.
It was, I think in June of 23. It was a while ago.
23.
Right.
All right, I'm just trying to get all of that on the record because I wasn't aware of a meeting like that. My neighbors are right here, one of the houses that are truncated on the map incidentally. So, you know, we're just all, I think, getting a look at it. I haven't really looked at it much before.
Right.
But I think that there needs to be an accommodation for people who aren't interested in these plans for their properties.
Well, the
Just-
plan there is, it's Old Town. What's your no. Was that Brown?
Orange.
Oh, yeah.
Residential,
Yeah,
traditional,
yeah, it's
neo-traditional.
traditional. It hasn't changed. It's still residential traditional.
My property is the wrong size on the map. Somebody cut out part of my property. It's not the color, it's the size. The property is the wrong size. Somebody cut out my property. Adam cut my property apart.
Oh.
That's the problem. It's
Okay.
not the color.
I got you.
Yeah, I mean, again, to be clear, it does not affect your existing zoning. And the government is not telling you whether I created the map, whether a consultant created, the government is not saying that you have to sell and this is what it has to be. That, however, your point is well taken in that if you say, regardless of that, stepping aside, the likelihood of somebody selling the back portion of the lots for a commercial use, you can say, I don't really see that happening. And I'm okay with having deeper lots there. And I prefer the commercial just to develop north of me. That's a fair point, and we can go ahead and make that change. So.
One other point of clarification. This is a plan that deals, as Adam has said, with future use. And so it's what the council and the plan commission envision for how the town should develop for use over the next 10 years. So really this comes into play when someone comes into your property and they want to change the use and rezone it to something. And then one of the standards or one of the consideration is the proposed rezone or the use consistent with the comprehensive plan. So it prevents somebody from coming in and in a residential area, or at least they'd have a really tough time rezoning to light industrial or some more intensive use that's inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. They'd have to have a really good reason to support that. So it is a guide for future use, but as Adam says, it doesn't affect anybody's use now. And to the extent that the boundaries of anybody's property are off, this isn't a controlling document. The parcel map that's, you know, on record with the county is what's going to dictate that.
I understand it's not an official current map. I'm just bringing up the point that some people may not have seen before, the plans that are to take place on their own property. That's all. There's no dotted line, there's no perforated line, there's no indication of what exists now. It just sort of rewrites what's there. And for that matter, it would be, I think, difficult to coordinate to get all three neighbors side by side to all sell their land.
I think that the town though, as you know, Donnie and Adam said, if you've done what in the plan commission, what's required under law, you put out public notice, you have meetings, you send out information over a period of months to provide people the opportunity to participate in government if they choose to. If they don't, the council moves forward with the information they have. And you've satisfied your legal obligation.
And it is conceptual. You got to remember that.
I
So, but it
understand.
also opens up an opportunity for you maybe to even get more for your property that you ever would have dreamed of getting from a developer.
I understand.
Whereas it doesn't keep them as restrained as the residential.
Just clarifying
Yeah.
that this map includes plans for property that is owned by other people currently who may not agree with this. And I don't know where else that's going on the map. I never received any notice about these meetings that were happening. So if the notice is that it goes out on Facebook or something, then it is what it is. I didn't happen to go. I didn't happen to know about it and I didn't go. And I haven't really looked at this much before, but I just wanted to bring it up.
Well, then, just to be clear so that I have the correct marching orders from the council is, do you want to leave those three properties alone then? Do we want to leave them just as traditional, neo-traditional for those three, or keep it the way it is as shown? We can go either way.
In my own interest, I would change it back to the current property lines, but
Okay.
I'm also curious about all of the pink area next to it. Like, what's the plan with all that? You've pinked over entire other houses. So, I don't really know, what.
I don't think these are current plots, because up here on Michigan Street, these are not, this is just the area that it is designed for this type of thing, not necessarily that particular lot. It's the whole area.
Right. No, that's
So I
fine.
don't-
I would put those houses back, but otherwise, I understand it's a future idea.
Yeah, I understand your concern, but I think the map is used for like, where would we grow? How would we put in more commercial property? Where would it fit? So right behind you is the perfect spot for commercials, like you said, if a developer wanted to come and buy my spot out and Bob's spot and put in a nice big, unit and they needed a little bit more space, they could see that. You have every right to say absolutely not, but it's just a visionary map of where do we go, which I think helped Fritz say, this is a good spot to put that extra housing. Like, we never think about developing over there. So it's just a visionary thing. It's not anybody saying, go after her property or
No,
anything
I-
like that. So you're still protected.
No, I understand that. And I get it that if there's entire houses that are highlighted to say, well, if somebody wanted to sell that house someday, we could do this or that with it. It's very different to see a property like cut in half, to see it truncated.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, I
Thank you.
understand.
Makes no difference to me. So whatever. If you want to make it the same size, that's fine.
Yeah, I think we can do that. We can change it. Well, so what I'll do then is I'll take a look at the 300, try to refine that, throw in some multifamily. We'll, those 3 lots on Garden will keep as is, and then the 2 lots on Main Street, we'll change that to neighborhood commercial.
No, I would change those back on Garden Street. Not as is. I would change those to reflect the
Right,
current.
correct.
Okay.
Yes, we'll reflect the current property lines.
All right. Thank you.
And then we'll bring it to you at the first meeting in November then. Right?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. With that being
Thank you.
said, that ordinance number you've assigned to it,
Mhm.
you wouldn't have an ordinance number.
You folks have something you want to say? You want to talk? Come on up to the microphone. That's fine.
So that's not 10A
Don't
anymore.
be shy, Randy.
No.
So we just found out that the house next door to us got sold. And the liquor store is the one that bought it. So how can that be rezoned as commercial when it's residential?
Or ask me on that.
I don't
that
know anything
specific
about it.
case. Well, that is separate from this map, first of all. I don't know if, I'd have to see what the zoning is. Well, that's what it's assessed as. That's separate from zoning. So, I'm trying to remember here because the liquor store did talk to us about that possibility. I know they bought it. They went on their own, just bought it. But it's the same premise in that if, regardless of what it's showing for assessment, whatever it's zoned as, if it's commercial zoning, then they can develop it commercially. If it's not, if it's residential zoning, then they'd have to get it rezoned to do a parking lot. I want to say that, don't hold me to it, but I think the zoning on it is commercial, but we'll have to take a look.
There's a house.
I understand that, but the actual zoning that's been in place for a long time, it may, and I believe it is commercial.
Could you pull that, Adam, for, for the next time or at
Well,
another,
the zoning map?
yeah.
Yeah, can you pull it? I wanna see what it says because we. To commercial.
You can look it up too, Tanya. I'm
Wanna do that
asking
right now?
I'm asking, yeah, I'm asking Adam because
It's on our website. We can certainly talk about it afterwards. We'll take a look.
Adam, may I ask, you said that the liquor store contacted you about that property?
They did, the liquor store, but they bought it ahead of time. And
What-
he said, we bought this property and we're looking to put in, we're looking to acquire it, demolish the house and expand the parking.
When did you discuss that?
I want to say probably in the last 6 months.
Did you email us about it? Did I miss that?
There are a lot of different projects. I don't recall if I did or not, but I mean, I'm telling you now in all transparency and honesty, there's nothing to hide. So, if they, like I said, it depends on what the zoning is. And I don't know offhand, I wasn't prepared for this question, but we can certainly look at that and get that information to you all.
But if the liquor store in town, the one liquor store, bought a property that has a house on it and told you that they want to demolish it and turn it into a parking lot in the middle of a residential street, that's not a topic for conversation?
Again, in terms of the, all I'll say is for the zoning, we have to verify that. My understanding, my belief right now is that it's commercial. How it came to be is, I can tell you if it is commercial, that's because Hancock County would have zoned it that way. And when we took over from Hancock County, we just recognized their zoning districts. So prior to that time, if it was prior to 2020, I don't know the answer. Secondly, in terms of, as you know, we provide a weekly update with as much relevant information that we can think of and provide you with. I ask the other council members every week if there's any projects that you want to know about, anything that I might be forgetting, let me know. So, in terms of the transparency, we obviously want to provide as much information as we can.
But we don't know. I don't know, and you do know.
I've got one.
Okay.
And that they're tearing it down this week.
Well, they couldn't, they can't do that.
No.
They'd have to file for a demolition permit, which they haven't done.
Yeah.
Right. So,
But not only
Right.
if it's zone commercial, I want to know how it's zone commercial. I mean, it's residential. It's been residential for years.
But they can buy residential property. We just don't know what they're gonna do with it yet.
No, but
So,
I mean,
yeah.
you know, if they're gonna turn it into a parking lot, that makes it not residential.
Yeah, well, they do have to get permits and stuff to do that. They just can't do it. Will, that's not their,
Right. They'd also have to,
it has to come to us
the other,
first.
the other state,
Well, not us, actually.
others-
BZA.
yeah,
They're
the other,
BZA. Yeah.
the other
They
safe,
will. I
the
mean,
other safeguard that we have is that the Plan Commission in Fortville, which is unique to Fortville, unlike a lot of other communities, is the site plan needs to be approved by the Plan Commission. And so even if the property is zoned commercial, even if they want to do that, they still have to get a site plan approved by the Plan Commission in a public hearing. And so you'd be notified about it. And yeah, so that's another safeguard that we have in place. Right. And to be, and also, it's worth mentioning, to be clear, is that the government, it cannot tell anybody who to sell to, who not to sell to. The only
that's the thing
that
thing.
we have some ability to do is on that land use, on the zoning, on the land use, development standards, things of that nature. But just the idea of somebody purchasing property, there's nothing illegal about that.
Would be all right if it's just a person buying property, but this is a business.
A business can buy a property for any reason.
And that would go right down our whole house. Whole property.
Be lost that I understand your concerns and I do. So what we'll do first is we'll take a look at the zoning. After the meeting, I can meet with you guys. We'll take a look at that. And then secondly, if they are able to do a parking lot, they'd still have to go through that process. Things like fencing, landscaping, lighting are always big concerns near neighbors. So hopefully that'll answer the question.
It's just strange because we've sat in these meetings discussing the zonings and rezoning this and rezoning that, and you knew that a commercial building bought a house with the intention to demolish it. And to do what in the middle of a residential street?
Just because they have the intention doesn't mean that they're doing it, though. We can't do anything until they come to us to ask for that. So, I mean, and they can't do it without the permission.
I had to go through the same thing. When I bought that house behind Denver's and I wanted to put in a parking lot, I had to go in front of everybody. And then they came up with a solution that I cannot tear down that blue house, but I could put a parking lot up around that parking lot for Denver's parking.
I thought you guys wanted to talk about this map. We could have waited, but I'm glad you came up.
Well,
Yeah,
I
I understand what you, yeah.
know about it. Pardon me.
You can't control who your neighbors sell their property to. I get it. It's hard to, yeah. Sure, yeah. It's a shame your other neighbor didn't do that for you, did
Well,
he?
that was a young couple.
Yeah,
And I'm sure,
Yeah.
he paid them more than they paid for their place. So,
Sure.
yeah.
sure. And there's always a reason behind that, but
Well-
you guys probably need to come, like he said, you'll be notified by mail and you'll want to make sure you come to the planning commission, BZA to get,
And that's when you can put in,
Yeah.
how tall the fence you want, what kind of trees,
will work
what
for
do
you.
you want as your
Sound
buffer.
barrier.
Yeah.
Not
Sound barrier.
I mean, a
Is it
big
loud
cement
now?
wall.
Yeah.
I mean, this is right up
very-
against our house. It's up off the ground.
Yeah.
The foundation is, so I mean, it's all down where the bedrooms are. And he's a truck driver, so he has trouble getting to sleep. He has trouble sleeping, and now you're talking about putting a liquor store parking lot. And then they already throw bottles and crap over the frickin' fence now. So what are they gonna do to our house, to our frickin' driveway and stuff like that? So, and then there goes, the money that we got into our home, which is a lot now. There drops the property value,
Yeah, and so, and this is how to try to stop things from happening that we don't want to happen. It would be very perplexing to
You
have,
can't do that. You can't stop it from happening because people will sell their property.
we still vote on we vote on a rezoning. and
The
so we can-
BZA does, yeah.
We don't vote on the rezoning,
They're the ones that initiate it.
but we vote on the rezoning. And so it's good to hear this kind of information. I just heard about it like an hour ago. So, it's good to get all of the feedback before we do the vote so that we're voting with actual information.
So you'll get with us.
Well, this is also the
meeting.
first that I've heard about this. Your concerns. And as you know, we've dealt on your garage situation. I was happy to help you guys. And we want to provide as much information and be as transparent and honest as we can be. So I pride myself on that. So again, nothing's a done deal. So, but we'll take a look at that zoning and see what the story is. So,
You'll let us know after the meeting?
yeah, we'll go back to my office after the meeting. We'll take a look at it.
Thank you. Okay, sorry about that. I thought we were still on the map. Thought that's what they would talk about.
Little mix up.
Yeah, so I guess that's the way we'll leave it with the comprehensive map. You, those changes, yeah, we'll
Make
come back
those-
and,
Make those 3 changes.
Yeah.
I'll come back.
Yeah.
And then in the end of November, I'll go back to Plan Commission for them to look at it.
Okay.
Sound good?
that sounds good.
All right.
Everybody good with that? Okay. All right, so we have no old business. Joe, you have anything?
I got a few things. Few things to run by you this evening. This year in our budget, and also it rolls over into next year's budget, we had budgeted for some used equipment, used backhoe, used bucket truck, and I think it's an asphalt roller and maybe a couple other items. Trying to find those used and from an individual has, been a little bit tricky. We actually found a backhoe that we thought was the perfect fit for us. It's the same machine we have now, except it was newer. All the buckets and all the attachments would interchange. And it needed to have some alternator work done to it. So the guy was gonna have the alternator fixed. And before I could get back to council to ask for approval to spend the money on that, he'd sold it. So what we've been looking for bucket trucks and been out looking at several. The RDC at their meeting Thursday night approved funding for a bucket truck. We did find one. It was a 2011 Ford F-550. The boom will go up 35 foot, and with a flat deck, it'll get us up probably about 40 feet or so. So it should reach anything we need to reach.
I looked online, I saw it also.
Yeah.
It's nice.
So it's 33,000 is what they're asking for it. And I asked them, in order not to lose this, if they would go ahead and print me out an invoice and I could bring it before you this evening to get approvals. So we could see if we can.
What are the uses are you gonna use the bucket truck for? So
Well,
people know.
With all the street lights that we're taking control of, as far as like all on Main Street and Merrill Street, a lot of the newer subdivisions, if it's not a Duke-owned light, it's ours. All the ones on Broadway, all the ones on the trail going to the school. The banners, the guys are out there on ladders hanging banners. Don't really care for that much. I'm just going off the top of my head here. I know the gutters on our barn back here got trees growing out of them. We break ropes off the flagpoles all the time and have to hire somebody with a bucket truck to come in and go up and help us get the rope put back through it. Obviously there's tree work that needs to be done. So we find a need for one quite often. In fact, the lights on the side of the community center, the eye's on top of the light. You can't reach it from the roof and you can't reach it from the ground.
Right.
And all of our cameras, when we've had issues with them, a lot of times, all we have to do is get up and work on them or get up and disconnect something or reset it. And once we call the company that installed them, by the time they charge us for their lift and everything, it's not hardly worth even having them come out to fix it. So this does give us that ability as well.
You can help Libby hang her Christmas lights
The banner.
on Main Street.
So with that, as you know, my spending limit is $10,000 according to the policy, the purchasing policy. RDC did approve the funds and it will go back to them for approval and to pay for it. But before I feel like I can pull the trigger on that, I need to get the council's blessing on it as well.
I think just the safety alone, it's worth it.
Oh my
Like,
God, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the lift truck, bucket truck.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? There you go,
Thank
Joe.
Bob was just asking me before the meeting, I was gonna give a little bit of an update on the water, but this is a good time as any. The water treatment plant is, in the last meeting that we had, we were talking about, we're still fighting some rust issues. I've been meeting with the contractors and on the phone with them, and I told them I want to see and hear from them every single day till we get to the bottom of it. Also, the other issue was the chloride, was mainly from the softening and how much we should, soften is adding that extra brine water to the sewer plant. So then that kind of puts the sewer plant in a violation stance because our chlorides are higher than what their allowable rates are. They're not higher now, but during the summer when it's hot and dry and everybody's watering, we do get close to it, maybe go over it every great once in a while. But coming up on the winter when people aren't using as much irrigation and stuff, that we won't be softening as much. I mean, we'll still be softening, probably softer water, but the ratio goes down, so the salt will go down on that as well. The other item I wanted to talk to you about is, I understand through Beth that we had money in the budget from the utilities and the street department to hire a few new staff members. And so I did confirm with her that as of January of this next year, 2025, there is room in the budget there for one water, one sewer, and one for the MVH. So that'd be three positions. And then we'll get the council's approval for those this evening because I need to start working on the salary ordinance and they need to be included in that salary ordinance. I'm getting all dry now. I should have brought me a water up here. So, yeah, that Snickers might have did it to me. So, yeah, if I can get approval to go ahead and hire those.
So there was one for the street department, one for the water department,
And
and
one for the sewer.
it did,
And we may end up losing one of those to the plants because Dave needs somebody out there.
Okay.
So it may only put two more people out in the field.
okay. Well, when I read your email, I thought you were hiring him just to help get Helmcrest. Do you get all the pipes replaced over
No,
there?
that was an example as to why we haven't been able to get to it.
Okay.
Our workload in the last 10, 15 years has more than doubled.
Yeah.
And our staff has not. Years ago, when we put in water lines, we sent our crews in behind the contractors putting in the mains, and we would replace the service line from the house to the meter pit. And we did that with Colonial Edition because all the water mains were in the back of the houses. You couldn't get to them. They would leak. We couldn't get into them to fix them. So we ran all new mains out front, 8-inch mains with hydrants, new meters, sets in the front yards, and went back and reconnected everything. We've
Okay.
done that to a few areas and a lot of town. We've done that to a lot of old town. But Helmcrest is one that in 2009, we ran all new mains, meter pits, hydrants, just like we have the others. Our guys haven't had the free time to get back out and reconnect those services.
Right.
Because we've got to kill the old main that's out there.
Right.
Every time it breaks, we end up having to shut the whole neighborhood down.
I agree.
And
But
there's areas out there that we really can't get to fix that main. In fact, I don't want to jinx anybody, but we've got a garage footer that's, if it's not sitting right on top of one, that's the garage is built over top of it.
Right.
And if that line breaks, then we're going to be down a while,
Right.
getting people back in service.
I just misread your email, like you were gonna hire them to start on replacing and switching that
Well,
over.
The hopes are to get enough
So,
staff members that we can start doing that.
so do you have a game plan to get that done? If it happened in 2009, I mean, do we have a goal, like maybe do 10 or 15 a year?
Well,
or-
with, well, I'd like to get them all done within the next couple of years if we can. It shouldn't take that long. It's just getting the freed up.
Does
getting
it-
Guys freed.
Does it make sense to maybe have those 3 guys that you're hiring? Maybe have them do multitasking where we could get that done and then put them
I'm
over into other
I'm
areas?
definitely gonna try to prioritize that. I mean, we're more acting in the street and utility department as a reactionary rather than being proactive.
Right.
So as we have needs that come up, as these new developments coming in, we have inspections and water taps, sewer taps,
Right.
taking trash totes. I mean, it's, as soon as they start a development, we got guys out there all the time, and it's taken time away from what they would normally be doing.
So is the process easy to replace the water line like you did at my house? You just come inside, you tie to that pole and just jerk it out to the water pit and then hook it up, or do we have to dig in people's yards?
It was a little different out there. We'll probably be digging through the yards because what we're doing there is the water mains that we're wanting to abandon are in the backyards. All the new water mains are in the front yards with the meter.
So their meter pits are in the back?
Yep, and we're out there jumping fences and fighting.
So we
dogs
gotta
to
dig
get
new
used to.
meter pits on each front of your
They're
yard.
already there. All they're waiting for us
Oh,
to come
okay.
back and run from the pit to the house.
And we don't have to disturb the sidewalks in any way if we pull it?
No,
Okay.
no.
That's what I was just asking, because I read that today and I was wondering, oh God, how are we gonna do that? And get it done and within a year.
We can, yeah,
That's
we
been-
we can
Okay.
take care of that. Like I say, we've been trying to prioritize that as a main goal, but when other things keep pulling us away, it makes it difficult. We did send out the service line inventory. We had to upload it to IDEM by a certain date. It was done. They've received it. Everything is was approved as far as what we'd sent in. But now we're required to, I think it's before the middle of next month, we need to send letters out to out of 3,600 customers, there's roughly 600 of them that we couldn't confirm or we didn't know if they were galvanized. I'm not going to say lead. They call it lead service lines. As far as I know, we don't have any lead in our system. But they consider it as, you know, if it's galvanized, it's a lead pipe or possibility of having lead. So we've got about 600 letters we're going to send out directly to those people that we've identified as unknown, that we've identified that we don't know what it actually is. A lot of them, like I said earlier, when we come through town, Colonial Edition, a lot of Old Town, South Side, we put new mains in, we ran new water lines all the way to the house. Some we only went to the meter pits. So along with the letter we're sending out, it was mandated that there's language in there of the harm of lead and how to avoid, you know, how to not drink it, I guess. You let the water run for a little while longer, use filters and the different things that you do. So that's all in the letter. And the other thing that we're asking in the letters, we're going to ask people to help us inventory their line to see what the pipe material is that's coming inside the building. So if they can tell us if it's poly, galvanized, copper, then that'll help us update our inventory, and it just reduces that much more that needs to be done. Because eventually, everything that we've marked, if it's galvanized coming into the homes, once we get through all this process, they give us 10 years to get them all replaced. So that's, and Helmcrest is not.
So how many homes are in Helmcrest? If we decide to try to get it all done in 2025, how many would you have to get done in a week?
I'd have to go back and count them. I don't know.
Okay.
We could do it. If I had a crew, we could do it easy enough. So
Okay.
3 more people could help tremendously.
Okay. All right. Somebody want to make a motion for 3?
I'll make a motion to approve the 3 new hires.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Opposed?
you. And then the last thing I was going to bring up, in fact, Fritz touched on it a little bit ago. I know when Fritz and Tanya, when you guys came on council, we were talking to a developer out there around the 200 Fortville Pike area, trying to get them to help put in a regional lift station that's in that area or that needs to be in that area. And that property is not developed. It's still sitting. We've been waiting for a developer to come in that would help build this, dedicate the right of way and everything, so we could put a regional lift station in. With the Mount Vernon North buyer's property going in, which is gonna be just shy of 400 homes going in there. So when you got the high school lift station, we've got an awful lot of flow that's coming in from the south side, and it actually hits a small lift station in front of the Christian church that it's either gonna have to be really upsized and all new force main, but what I wanna do is upgrade that one, leave it small. We need to put a regional lift station in that's gonna handle further east and let the larger lift stations I was talking about earlier tie into that, go over to 300 and tie into our sewer main there on the south side of Broadway so we can take it straight into the sewer plant. That would take some of that flow out of the downtown area too and could gain some capacity going through the downtown. I think the price that we looked at back then was ballpark of 1.5 million. I would estimate it to be closer to 2 million today, if not more. And there might be some land acquisition we'll have to look at too for running the force main and the sanitary sewer lines and everything. But I would like to go ahead and engage in their engineering firm to start laying that out and see if we can't go out to bid on that. And I think I told you, let's see, roughly $2 million. Just the buyer's estate that's going in, the Lennar project that's going in, they'll generate a little over $1.2 million in sewer connection fees just with that development. So it's good, we'll be able to fund it, but we always like to try to get a developer's contribution if we can.
So, so you're looking to try to buy the property right around 900 and 200?
I'm not looking to buy any property now till I want to engage an engineer to start looking and laying out the best place for it, where the force main should go, if any gravity line needs to be put in.
And that's the
then-
one that's gonna be forcing it up to go down 900 to 300?
It might go 900, it might go 925. I don't know wherever the best.
Okay.
I would say go ahead and do that.
You're all good with that?
Everybody
I
good with
haven't,
that?
No, I agree. I agree.
I haven't
I just,
got any particular engineering firm in mind. So if you guys have got any recommendations, I'm open.
I think too, is if we decide to go down 900 or 925, we should look at who owns the property
I
and
don't
which
think-
ones, do we have to buy the frontage of that to put in a sewer line?
That's what the engineer will have to figure that
Okay.
out.
Probably the least.
I don't know that we
the
want to
least
actually
amount of
go and see
resistance.
who owns the property before we determine. I think we're gonna look at the gravity, whatever we can get the best system in and gravity to it the most. If we can run everything to 925 and gravity and you can extend the lines out further versus going back to 900, maybe that's the deeper one and we can hook more properties onto it. So I think we're gonna look at what's the location that's gonna give us the biggest bang for our
Right.
buck. Because we
Yeah.
don't want to do it twice. We don't want to put in another one.
Yeah, because I think what 900 has more fields than the other. 925 has more residential on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but then either way, if you go down 900, then we got to go a lot further up 300 to get to the.
Yeah, I
The
think
main
it's,
thing.
it's, they don't have very many houses there either on 300.
Yeah.
Garston. I think they own one side. Okay. All right, thanks.
Mhm. That's all I have this evening, unless you have anything for me.
I have one question. Have they still working on Bob Farrell's property? I mean, to get a bigger opening, have they talked to you
They,
at all
what
today?
they've committed to, I'll say to me, is soon as this project's done, they get their contract taken care of and get everything done, they will be coming back and doing some improvements, the sidewalk and improving the driveway.
They're not talking about widening it at all. He just gets that little opening.
Well, I'm saying that they're gonna improve it, so I've asked them to widen it by 10 feet. I think it'll all depends on what they can do when they come in there. They'll look at it.
The old donut shop, the old one, they've got a really big opening in front of theirs and they have a small parking lot just seems out of whack. Have you driven by there, the old
Oh,
donut
the old
shop?
one, yeah.
Yeah, they have
That's-
a,
I noticed
mean,
that
it's
too. I thought that
really
was really
wide.
wide, but that's, I guess is because they got the overhead doors that come out there right in front. That's what they told me.
it just seems odd that they got that real wide and then Bob's got this real narrow.
We're trying to
Dinky
get Bob's
one.
widened and improved if we can.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Adam?
No, nothing for me unless you have any questions, or anything.
I got a question. The part-time assistant, have you
Yeah.
advertised for that yet?
Yes, today we did.
It was in today? Okay.
Mhm.
And if you
And
guys,
we'll close that on Friday, November 1st.
then you said something about the funeral home. Somebody's looking, maybe renting it, or did that kind of fall through, or where are we at on the funeral home?
Well,
Stand by, there's more to come on.
stand by there, yeah, there's more to come. There is somebody who is potentially interested in acquiring it from the town to potentially do a restaurant. But it's still in its infancy. And when more information comes to fruition, we'll provide that. We had mentioned it at the RDC meeting a month or two ago. And at this point, we're waiting to see if this local couple that is interested, if they can come up with financing to even do a project. If there's no money, there's not going to be a project anyway. So once we have more information, we'll certainly provide that.
Then an update on the BP. BP, are they still?
For the BP, there's still, we still expect them to put in their driveway. That has been the big hangup, is they have not put in the driveway. They have not completed the full improvements along Broadway that they were required to do.
What was that? They need to do a bump out on the other side and acquire some land? Is that the?
So without getting into a lot of.
When you read that
Yeah.
letter that they sent us, it seemed like they're putting it all on NDOT.
Right.
In the letter, is that because they said they made a mistake and NDOT doesn't own enough land by the fire station to make it come around?
That's correct. So,
Okay.
under the original permit that they got from NDOT, they had to widen Broadway and have a longer turn lane. NDOT said, if that's going to happen, then you, the developer, needs to actually acquire some of that right of way because it doesn't currently exist. So then they've gone back to the drawing board to see if there's a way that they can do a more limited set of improvements to Broadway that still is safe. And so their engineer is looking at that right now. It's a very peculiar situation. I can say for a fact that in my entire 20-year career, I've never seen a project get this far along and not have their primary entrance done.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
As of right now, I don't believe
can
NDOT's even got plans to review for the driveway to approve.
Yeah. Can the town help with acquiring some of the property to the south of there so they get a, what do they call that?
I
The
think what they're
bumble or-
coming up with is they're gonna be able to do everything, stay on the north side, and it's actually gonna be less expensive for them as well. So
Okay.
there's gonna be a cost savings.
Now, and that being said, I will absolutely say on the record that we do feel for them in terms of they made an investment in the community. We want them to open.
Yeah.
And we just want to make sure that all of the improvements that they have said they were going to do, that they showed to the public, that that was approved by the Plan Commission, is actually done. So if they were to open the gas station without the driveway, that we've determined that that's going to have to go to the Plan Commission for their approval. And the deadline for the BP guys to make a decision on that would be, I think, tomorrow is what we said in our response. So it may go back to the Plan Commission as early as this month, but we'll see. It's an unfortunate situation. We
Right,
wanna-
I agree.
It'd be nice to move on with life, instead of this hangover, but it is what it is.
Thank you.
Keith is not here. Patrick?
Okay, I've got a few things for you tonight. First is my quarterly report for third quarter 2024. The public all has, there's copies on the back. If anybody missed it, they should have it. I usually talk about the monthly training, which the past 3 months, we've done firearms, canine, active shooter drills and training, counter drug and surveillance enforcement operations training, domestic violence training, human trafficking training, physical tactics, emergency vehicle operations, taser recertifications. And then Officer Grimm, who is our brand newest officer, had started the academy and he is expected to graduate mid-December. That being said, we also hired Officer Ryan Haynes, who's in the back there. Ryan, if you want to come up real quick and just tell us where you came from and a little bit about yourself, I'd appreciate it.
Here you go.
Yeah, where you came from, where you going?
I'm Officer Ryan Haynes. I came from Ingalls. I was on Ingalls for 4 years. Pretty simple. I like, lifting weights. I got 2 young kids, so family's big to me. All right.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Ryan's a
Perfect.
man of many words, let me
Yeah.
tell you.
I like it.
So, but yeah,
Welcome aboard.
those are our 2 newest hires. I still have 1 spot available that I just can't seem to get filled. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But then, calls for service are elevated a little bit between 75 and 100 compared to last year. Last year, we really saw a spike in calls for service, but so far this year, I think we're approximately about 2,700 more calls for service than we had the year prior. So we're still upwardly trending very hard. And it's just growth. It's not like anything's gotten worse in Fortville. It's just growth, as businesses come in and companies come in, they lay wood down. Developers lay wood down to go start a project. Well, the other developers come and steal it so they can save money on their project. It happens. Tools end up missing. And it's just, as we get more people, there's going to be more calls. It's just simple math, the way it works. Then I have tickets issued, 382. That seems like a lot, but over 3/4 of those are warnings. The officers document if they write a written warning, or ordinance tickets for parking when they shouldn't be parking wrong way, things like that. Then you have the infractions, misdemeanors for tickets issued. They're not really tickets, but they put it into our ticket system. It's for your driving while suspended. Possession of marijuanas could be a misdemeanor ticket that gets put in the system. If they're driving the car, the officers find marijuana and they're stopping them for speeding. They'll put it all on one ticket and send it down to the courts that way. And then your felonies would be your driving offenses like your OWIs with children in the car where it's a felony. Or your second offense OWI or something like that. It's a driving offense associated with a felony criminal act. So that's why you see the felony tickets, and a lot of people are going to like, I've never heard of a felony ticket. They're not really felony tickets. They're traffic stops associated with felony arrests is the way that we track them. And then accident reports in the last quarter, there's 23. I actually had a pie chart I sent to the council. August, we had a lot of accidents. We had 12. And as I spoke with the police commission, they were asking why. Generally, it's because there's new drivers going back to a school parking lot and they like to bump into each other when they're backing out of parking spaces. Every year in August, we have more accidents. And you look at the stats, most of them are down at the school, in the school parking lot. So we still do the accident reports down there. So that's why normally we get 6 to 8 a month. In August, we had 12. So that was the reasoning after I took a look at that. All right. Next, any questions about the monthly report or the quarterly report from the council? No? Okay. Next on the Price is Right. Treats on Main is Saturday from 10 to 2. We'll be giving out pumpkins to the community like we always do to the kids that come by. We usually hand out some sort of a pumpkin and a little candy bag. We'll be there for that. And then another thing that we're prepping for is our Shop with Public Safety event. We send out our letters requesting donations from community members and businesses, things like that. And then at about the same time, we request anyone in need of assistance for the holiday season, send us their applications. And we try to shop for families that may not have the means to be able to shop for themselves. It's all community funded. Our community is great. We actually have a little bit of a surplus in that account because we have a lot of willing participants willing to help out a lot of the families in our community. And we don't just do Fortville, we do Vernon Township. So I'm not sure we've locked down the date yet of when we're gonna do our Shop with Public Safety. We usually meet here. We'll take them over to McDonald's at 6 West where Vanessa Moore and her husband, who owns McDonald's, treats the kids to all the food. We bring a Santa Claus in, they have time for that. Then we take them all to Walmart and we get to go shopping with them. It's a fun day. It's my favorite day of the year. It really is. There's, you know, being a police officer, you see the good, the bad, the ugly, you get some good days, but that is my favorite day of the year is to be able to go and shop for some kids and just to see their eyes light up when you tell them, go get what you want. Some of them never heard that before, so that's special to me. We have received the new trucks. I told you guys that a while back. They are getting outfitted. One is outfitted. It just doesn't have the markings on it yet, but I'm not gonna have him make a trip out here to mark one and then come back and mark the other one. Once they're both done getting all the lights and sirens and things like that put in them, they'll be fully marked vehicles. The K-9 vehicle is going to be the over $10,000. It's in the budget already. It's just, it requires heat alarms. So if it gets too hot in the car, the windows automatically go down, the fans automatically turn on. That way, you know, if the car does happen to die or anything, it sends the officer an alert to his belt that, hey, something's going on with your dog. It's too hot. Those dogs are very, very expensive, and the last thing we want to do is not take care of them. So, and then they have automatic door poppers. If the officer gets in trouble, he can pop the door and the dog will come running out. But there's a lot of specialty equipment, not just a cage. It takes a lot of specialty electronics to have that for the dog to make sure the dog's safe. So that is going to be over Joe and I's $10,000 spending limit. I don't have the invoice yet. If we need to, I was gonna break it down to either like K-9 supplies and then lighting and siren. But if I lump them together, then it'll be over that $10,000 mark. So if you guys are okay with me lumping those two bills together, the K-9 stuff and the vehicle outfitting, I'll just do that. But I would need council approval for that because it's over Joe and I spending limits. If anyone would be willing to make a motion for that, or if you prefer, I can have them separated out so you know which part's from the dog and which part's for the car specifically.
How much is it?
Do we need the invoice?
I know it's gonna be over 10. I'm guessing probably around, I'm not 100% sure until they get it finalized, because sometimes there's custom pieces they have to get to fit in each vehicle exactly. I can bring it to you. I just am looking for guidance on whether, if you want me to split them up, I can do that, or if you want me to bring back an invoice, but I'm kind of prepping you and putting it in your mind that it is gonna be over that amount.
Oh, yeah.
So,
So you just want to know if you should lump it together.
yeah,
or-
whichever you'd
Yeah, we're
prefer.
not
I mean,
really
we can do
both.
either.
Just lump them together, yeah.
Okay, as long as all you all
Yeah.
are okay with me just putting it all in one invoice, it's probably easier for the installer to keep track of that specific vehicle if we ever have issues with it.
Yes.
Safety, treats on Main. All right. So last week, earlier I said we're having problems with recruitment. And that's just not a Fortville thing. That's a nationwide thing. It happens. I could get into the whole politics of it and all this and that. I'm not going to. Us, including IMPD and state police, it doesn't matter what you're paying. people just don't want to be police officers anymore. That's just the part of it. The problem I'm specifically having is every other agency in our county is paying more. So, and we're all vying for the same pool of people. I know the budget's set. So I'm looking for alternative ways that I'd like to discuss with you guys of how I can incentivize to get more people to come to the town of Fortville. I don't want another department's leftovers or people that they've gotten rid of. I want to find good, clean candidates that are going to be good for Fortville, because I'm not going to really get rid of our quality just for quantity.
Right.
I want good officers in Fortville, and I think the town deserves it. The town expects it. But I'm not just gonna start chasing numbers just to have people on staff. I've got enough staff to get us by right now. They're wearing a little thin sometimes, but they all put on their hat and their boots and they come to work every day. So, but I'd like to sit down with you all and figure out ways to do that. I've come up with a couple different ones, but it's open. Obviously pay incentive is a huge thing, but I also understand that budgets are tight, numbers are tight, and I get that. We have specialty pays. I'd like to see maybe those go up in some form or fashion, which would be attached to the salary ordinance. I'd like to be able to pay out any comp time at the end of every year in that first check of December. That way, if the officers are working and can't take that time off, they have the ability to have that extra money on that first check of December for their families for the holidays. There's 2 town-sponsored events, Summerfest, Winterfest. Currently, the officers are forced to come in and work those events. They get comp time for it. There's no additional pay. And they get the comp time, and that's where I run into at the end of the year. They're struggling to use up all their vacation time and still have comp time from court and training and things like that. So there's all kinds of different things I'd like to look at. There's holidays in there. They get paid for 6 holidays. The town gets 12. So there's all kinds of things. I'd like to open it up for discussion between all of you to see if I can try to boost our recruitment some way, because I want to continue to get quality candidates in Fortville. I'm not going to sacrifice the quality for the quantity. So I'm open for discussion this evening. I'm open for discussion the next couple of weeks before the salary ordinance gets presented. I'll be around. I always answer my phone. So if anybody's got anything additional, there was a gentleman, Fortville Aerials, who does drone work. He's done some of our events for free. He hit me up and said, hey, I'd like to make about a 2-minute video you guys could put out on your Facebook page, just focusing on the Fortville Police Department, the different things we can do, which I thought would be a new, interesting way for recruitment, because normally we just put up kind of a poster board. So we're going to try a couple different things this time, see if we can boost some numbers. But currently we're advertising at ILEA, Police One, our Facebook, the town's government page. We put it out to all other agencies. Right now, we're the lowest paying in the county. And people can go to New Pal and make 10 grand more starting out and with half the people. So I'm up for discussion, and I'm open ears. Any help you guys can give me, I'd appreciate.
If the council would be open to it, as I start working on the salary ordinance, Pat and I can work on that together and start looking at some of the extra pays for the positions and the rankings and.
Yeah, I think
The
the holiday,
specialty
especially the
pays.
holiday thing is
Yeah.
something we should
Well,
look
that won't
at.
be in the salary ordinance, but that'll be in the handbook.
Yeah,
But if I could make some adjustments to that along with Pat and try to figure out what looks good, run it by Beth, make sure that it's fundable, and then we can bring it before you guys for review. If she says it's not fundable, we go back to the drawing board.
that's our priority.
Okay.
Get good guys and,
And keep them.
yeah, keep
Yeah,
keeping them.
I don't
is
want
the
to be a
problem.
training ground. We were a training ground for a long time when I was a young cop here, and
Yeah,
you'd see people come, you'd see people go, and you never really kept the same faces around. You never really got to know the officer. and the citizens didn't get to meet the officers, so. I mean, the longer they're here, the better rapport they have with the public, and I think it just turns out better for everybody, so.
Well, we raised that salary ordinance, what was it, about 5 years ago? We really had to bump it up, just because everybody was bumping up.
Yeah.
And I felt like that, Fortville will always have even if we bump their salary, it's hard to keep, good police officers because there's no mobility. There's no moving up to be like a detective, and like if you go to Lawrence or you go to the bigger, you're able to make captain, and there's more upward where we're more like, training them and getting them to move up. And, that's a pretty good honor to have. I mean, you're really shaping them in the beginning and moving them up. I mean, it's a
But then I
compliment.
lose them, Fred.
No, I know, but the problem is there's no mobility.
upward mobility
Yeah,
for you.
here, yes. And if they're a young buck and they're aggressive, they're gonna wanna move. So we're gonna have that problem here.
Yeah,
But
and I see that, and I completely understand that. We've trained a lot of good officers, and they left for higher pay. They've left for a better position. They've left for upward mobility. As long as we can stay competitive,
sure.
and we're in our growing stages. We're gonna continue to grow and continue to grow and continue to grow, which is gonna give those positions, those openings for that sergeant's position or that lieutenant's position.
Right.
So I feel in the next 5 to 10 years, some of those upwardly mobile positions are gonna be open. So I think it would help, like you said, to keep them around, get them trained up, keep them around, just give them
Right.
some more opportunity.
Right.
So I completely agree. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Patrick?
I don't know.
On your wish list?
No, I'm finished unless you all have questions of me. I'm sorry I took so long.
You're fine. You're fine. Clerk, Adriana, you have anything?
I do not, unless someone has any questions for me.
I do not. Alex?
Same here. Unless you have questions for me, I don't have anything on my list.
Okay, we have any public comment? Okay,
No.
We have one white police car that's leased to the town. He works at the school. He works at the middle school. He's our SRO at the middle school. He personally owns that car. It's leased to the town, so we can put our graphics on it. And he can work out there under our police authority, so he could be our SRO to keep those kiddos safe out there. Yep, that is the only, no, I nope, don't like the white. So, but that's what he wanted. You're right, Becky. Yeah.
My name is Bob Farrell. I'm associated with Broadway Place, which was the subject matter that Fritz so kindly brought up before your council. And 2 weeks ago, tonight, almost about right now, Vice President Councilman Ryan Rummel changed his vote from a nay to a yay to close High Street. And I'm here to report that that had been successfully completed about 48 hours after the vote was done on that. It has had an impact on the diner, on the ice cream store, and to a very minor degree to the mobility store. I'm asking that the council consider, by looking at the north side of Broadway, the westbound openings along there, specifically the subway, the whatever that business is to the east of the subway, look at their generous and actually Subway has two. The one that is the athletic place has a very generous, probably it's a 40-foot wide. And then the one between McCarty Street and Merrill Street, which serves a very, very small property, has a 41-foot opening. The Broadway Place had 112 foot, not including High Street. It had a 61-foot opening and a 51-foot opening. It now has a 30-foot opening, which is insufficient to get the proper traffic to feed these businesses. They are taking a double hit now over losing High Street. And I just ask the council to please do strong consideration to expand that. I'm actually asking you to make the opening that's there now at 30 feet, to make it 61 feet wide, which was one of the two openings that were actually there prior to the project. So, Mr. Rummel, would you feel like making a motion that there be a study done and you look into the study to see what would be a proper opening for that property and be proactive about it? Would you do that? Is that possible? Do you make a motion?
Haven't we already talked about trying to widen it?
Yeah, and NDOT is supposed to come back and they're gonna do an evaluation on it and see what final width they can make and.
So yes, I think it's gonna happen.
Again?
I think they're gonna look at it, yeah.
What I'm asking is that we be proactive about that. I'm asking the council to be proactive and make it a subject matter of concern. If you believe it's a subject matter of concern, and make a motion to the fact that you make it, put it under advisement, study the situation and consider my 61-foot suggestion, which is what I had before on one of the openings. And consider also the fact that the other side of the street, the north side, westbound traffic lanes, has very, very generous openings across it, which completely negate any consideration whatsoever of safety of mine, rather the Broadway Place opening being any kind of a safety consideration. Look specifically at the subway. It actually has an opening that is somewhere between 12 and 24 inches away from Oak Street. And that goes against any argument that anybody is concerned about safety, to have an opening, ingress, egress, right there. So anyway, if you would do that, please, I would appreciate it. Do you feel like doing that?
I don't think we can. I think NDOT will not allow you to do that. That's the reason why it was not done in the first place.
Well, I think it's your prerogative to say that.
Bob, have you been to NDOT's office to talk to them about it?
Like I said, Bob, they're just engineers, and it's a governor's problem that you can't. I mean, he's the boss. He puts the people in charge of the commissioners, and unfortunately, sometimes it's that difficult.
We've
I don't think
asked,
it would be.
we've asked several times, and we've tried to negotiate, and and I think we're on the verge of having something. It's not going to be 60 feet. It just won't be, but it should be better than what you have. But it's been a long process, and I know that you went to them early on quite a few times about that, and that made it difficult for us to try to make it happen. Because I think that,
apologize for
I mean, we are trying to do that. I don't want you to think that we haven't tried, because I'm telling you, we have a conversation about it, about every meeting that we have.
So NDOT just closes what they want and we can't do anything about it?
The plan, if it wasn't, this is a road diet, that's what it's called. So the plan for NDOT was to slow traffic down and to take the opportunity for accidents to happen. So they closed down less access onto Broadway. That was part of the plan. And that's what they've done. I can't confirm or deny how they came up with that. I've been told that it is a safety thing. They don't want them any closer to the intersection than they already are. I can't answer to why the other ones are like that. This is part of what they decided, not us. We can't, you know, and I think if we have to go back and do it, don't we have to have their permission to even do it? So if we go back and say, okay, Bob, we're going to give you 60 feet, and then NDOT's going to tell us that we can't give it to you.
That's why BP can't open because they don't.
You know,
have NDOT
BP already, yeah, that's one of their big problems too.
I'm not,
Well,
I'm not being very clear and I
I thought-
apologize. I'm asking you all, would you be proactive? Put something together and make some kind of a movement with whoever the powers are, because High Street got closed down in 4 days from notification to closure. And I know that there's somebody has a reasonable mind there in NDOT to do something like that on such short notice. And I don't see any reason that doing anything along there to make an improvement. We're going to call the closing of High Street an improvement, but it's had a negative impact on the businesses. I'm asking you 5, 6, including Joe, to look at that and say, look, the guy had 112 feet of opening, give him half.
Was there any study done that informed all of this? So Tanya, you said a road diet. I read Mr. Phelps's extended report that he sent us. It didn't explain this in any kind of meaningful detail.
NDOT's got their own set of guidelines that they go by, access control. And I know this project was looked at by the transportation planners early on before the project was being considered by NDOT. We'd asked them to do several things, add several items to this project that they don't have to. We ask them and they do what they want to do. Now, NDOT has the ability, and they've expressed this to me over and over again, they could remove all access onto their highway. As long as your property can be accessed from the side street, they can get rid of the road frontage or the access on Broadway altogether. So.
But why would they? Why would they do that?
They didn't do that, but they did improve as far as the amount of access points and the width, because you don't want multiple cars going out at the same time and everybody darting in different directions. It's more of controlling the flow and the traffic.
Well, I would suggest an independent review of that analysis that went into it in the first place. I would do it. I would do it. I read military engineering drawings all day. I can do that.
And then what happens?
Well, I don't know.
So we
That-
spend
that-
money to do a review that we're waiting to see if they're going to do the improvement anyway. So Bob, my suggestion would be, could we wait and see if it happens in May or whenever they're going to come back? And let's come up with a plan of action if that doesn't happen. Then what do we do? Because I don't want to spend our money, our tax
It's
dollar
taxpayers' money.
on
Yeah.
a study.
What taxpayer money?
That we can't.
What are we going to pay for a study to be done?
I would read the analysis at home by myself. I would just do an independent
I
analysis.
don't think we can do that.
Why can't we? We
I
can
will
ask, we
say-
can ask.
You're on the council, so I don't think that's ethical to do that.
Isn't it? We can ask for the records. It's our town.
I think you can look at what you want to look at, but I mean, bottom line is you're doing it to get more knowledge for yourself. It's not going to change the outcome.
Right, well, I mean,
Because
you
they're
could,
gonna, they approve what they feel is right.
you could make
far
a,
as their safety.
you could make a similar case for the opening at Garden Street. So I spoke with Mr. Phelps after the last meeting and he asserted very strongly that Garden Street opening was dangerous before and it's really great now. And I live on Garden Street and it was fine before and it's very dangerous now. And we discussed it a little bit. And so this would be an example where I, as a fellow engineer, could say, please show me the analysis. I'd like to see the analysis, please. I would like to do an independent review of it. Because I had asked NDOT back in January, what's the meaning of this atrocious opening that's there now? And they said, it was built to the engineering drawing and engineers signed off on it. And I said, well, I'm an engineer. What do I care if an engineer signed off on it? Right? What do I care if an engineer drew it? Engineers can draw things wrong. They can be out of spec. I would like to just independently review it. And I don't really see what is so wrong with that. This is our town. It's safety at hand. And I asked Mr. Phelps and his associates, do you live in town? Have you ever even driven through that new intersection as it has been built? No. So we're not even having the same kind of conversation. So I'm just suggesting I would be willing to do an independent review if I could be put in touch with the right people and be offered the correct drawings and analysis. That's something that we could do.
I don't think it's gonna matter now because it's after the fact.
Well,
First of all, but-
everything with them is after the fact. We don't get to know what's happening until
And
it's
I
done.
can't,
and
well, I
when
mean,
it's
we
done
can
already.
change
Go
that.
for it.
I mean,
That's just why I was asking. Do they just get to close whatever they want and then we don't have any say because it's their road? Is that basically it?
Seems like it.
Yep. that is exactly it.
And so if they're closing it, if they're acting honestly and closing it based on safety, they're saying it's safety, then I would like to do an alternative analysis of the same documents.
Say go for it.
That's what, I don't know, is that what, I would be willing to do that, but is that what you're looking for?
I'd love that. Thank you. But I'm almost amazed at how 2 weeks ago, right now, Mr. Rummel held the key as to whether or not High Street was going to be closed, irregardless of anything doing with NDOT. That's their opening, right? And you cast the vote. I'm not holding against you. I'm just saying, you held the power to do that. You exercise your power and it happened. Now, I don't see any difference in doing something positively as opposed to negatively as far as getting the opening for the Broadway place at least half of what it was before. It didn't present a hazard prior to that, or at least you didn't demonstrate one. There was no safety records brought up that the High Street or the Broadway Place entrance was a problem. It's an economic problem right now. I just don't see why you wouldn't help out a situation. Why wouldn't you help a business owner?
We have
a
tried, Bob.
property?
Yeah.
Well, try.
Well,
There you got an offer to at least.
that
get
isn't gonna,
something.
that's not gonna make any
You-
difference.
If something came up and
welcome
it
to
looked
look at
like
Yeah,
it
she can
needed to
look
go
at it.
to
That's
50
fine.
It might help.
say,
Who can, who knows?
If it's true that NDOT owns the road, the actual, the land that the road is on, and if they can just close it and there's nothing we can do about it, that's what they're saying here. If that's true, then perhaps there is no point to it.
If that was true, why did they ask us to vote on it to
They
close it?
didn't, thank you.
You
voted
It's
on
because it's a town street.
They weren't going to do it
Private
without
drive.
your vote, is what I understood.
Yeah, that was a town street, that's why.
But it approaches Broadway. I mean, I'm trying to understand the street law parts of it on the fly here, but closing High Street at Broadway, that's Broadway. That's not High Street. So if we were able to vote,
It's a town street that ties into a state road versus a private
driveway.
access onto a state road.
Right, what I'm saying, if it's NDOT's road, they didn't have to ask for permission to close High Street. They could have just closed it.
Exactly.
well, then why did we vote on it?
Yes.
That's what I'm
I
asking.
don't think that's true. for-
Well, no.
History.
Hang on. Why did they ask us to vote on it if they could just go in there and close it whenever they wanted to? That's what
I
I'm
thought the
asking.
question last meeting was in order for NDOT to actually do the work and it to be on their nickel, to close High Street, the decision needed to be made at that meeting. Otherwise, NDOT's crews were going to move beyond that piece.
Right, and just leave it open. That's what they were gonna do.
Right.
Yeah. And
So
then
they
we-
asked us if
they asked us.
they asked it if we wanted to close it, but also the decision needed to be made then
Right.
to avoid the additional expense to the taxpayers in the town.
Well, no, there was no additional expense to taxpayers because Loth was gonna have to redo that road anyway. So it was gonna be on their dime later on, and then we could have negotiated something.
That's not part
I
of,
think that was the case.
that's not part of. Yeah, that's not, you weren't gonna do anything up there.
What, Loth?
They're
But-
carrying.
Well,
they're
no.
carrying it.
Even if
They
we
were
have them
wrapping-
do that, I'm sorry, even if we have them do that and go down and tie in to where the diner's at, with the Loft project coming in, the funds that the town committed to, not over $8 million is what's gonna build all that. So, I mean, it could come in cheaper and won't spend the $8 million, but the town's dollars are what's gonna pay Loft to do that project.
But we could have negotiated. Did we try to?
We could have
negotiate with them?
negotiated. And we didn't.
They were there that night agreeing to do things for free. So I mean, I didn't even hear a discussion of
Nothing's for
would you
free.
I understand that. I understand that very well. But while we were discussing them demolishing the little houses for free, they could have also closed off the road for free, whatever that means for demolishing the houses. I was wondering about that. We weren't given an opportunity to adequately discuss that at the last meeting. So I mean, just since it's coming up now, I'm wondering, Alex, are you making the distinction that High Street is a street bordering Broadway, but the driveway at the Broadway place, that's a private entrance, and that's what makes the difference? Are you saying that NDOT can close private entrances to Broadway at their will, but they are not allowed to close streets intersecting Broadway at their will? Is that the
believe
difference?
That is the case. It is a fact that a street is different than a driveway on a private piece of property. And I also believe, and I'm not an expert in state, road law, but NDOT gets to control curb cuts onto their roads, and they do. And it is a fact that they can block off access completely so long as there is access to a property. That's US Supreme Court law. So, but what they can't do is come in and close Fortville local streets that are public streets without cooperation from the municipality.
But they can close off driveways to
Yes.
Broadway at their own will, which I think is the topic here. So
Public safety, and this is part of a bigger project as well, right? So this is something that for years now has been discussed, meetings, plans, public meetings, big and small, and then arrived at the ultimate plan that then NDOT's engineers go through, they do their analysis and their safety. And
Yep.
so here we are,
When-
almost at the end of the project.
And at the end of the
We are at the
project,
end.
it felt like I got baited and switched because it was more or less he had an egress and ingress. He thought we were counting High Street as his egress and ingress, and then we had another one. And then it came down to the last minute on a Thursday. They're gonna close they're asking if the town would want them to close the road. And I refused, I didn't want it closed.
well, if they can close whatever they want at their will, then I guess any
I don't know why they
agreement,
asked
then
us
any
that.
agreements are meaningless. Yes. So this all doesn't, in the moment, it doesn't really sound like it makes a lot of sense.
That's what I mean. I don't even know why they asked us then, if they could close whatever they want.
Precisely.
But
It's
I think a lot of that was courtesy as well.
not very courteous if they just go do whatever they want later anyway, but. Well, that's true too. Bob, taking your request all the way to the logical end, just to kind of work out the scenario of what you're asking. If we felt, if I went and reviewed the drawings and thought that there was some reasonable case to make to say, hey, we as a town disagree about the safety basis on which this was done, say. Your request is that we would go petition NDOT to say, we want 61 feet opened, even if we have to pay for it, but we're asking for your permission. That's kind of the logical. I guess we'd shoot for them to pay for it, but if they didn't want to, we're still asking their permission. Is that what you're asking for?
Yes, I am. Thank you for rephrasing it.
Well,
Let's wait till after they are done right now. Because right now, I don't even know why we closed the road down. That could have waited till May. They're waiting until May to make improvements to his opening. And we should have just let that road, leave it alone. But there again, we weren't able to get all the information that short a time in 4 days to make a decision. That's what I was saying. We don't have enough decision making. We could have held off until May when they decided to fix his entry. Then we could have made a decision if we were going to close High Street or not, but we didn't make that decision. So it is what it is.
but thank you for letting me clarify your request. And I agree with Fritz as well about, maybe waiting on it, but I would be interested to do an independent review of the analysis here in the meantime. That might be a good use of the time between now and then.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Good talk.
Okay, any other public comments? Town council comments? Libby?
Well, Fritz brought it to my attention that my Christmas lighting committee is convening, if anyone wants to join. And I'd like to know if I have any money in my budget.
I don't think so.
Okay, that was my last meeting. Christmas decorations will be hung though, right? Soon, like tomorrow? No.
We'll be taking down the military banners after Veterans Day. So then I'll free up the polls.
We are gonna have to get more lights though when we get the lamp posts down. Right? So we need to find some money. I know.
Oh, yeah.
And 3 other guys. We're gonna have plenty. Yes, we need to find some money. That's it. That's all I had.
Here, the park equipment looks awesome. I think,
Yeah, it does.
I think it looks awesome, and there were people playing on it this evening when I drove through. I thought that was pretty awesome. So
Every time I've.
quite a bit of people actually. So
It's nice stuff.
dugouts look good. You know, everything looks good through there, I think, when I just drove through there. So
Well, I was hoping he was gonna be here this evening. Maybe next meeting, he can give an update on the volunteers and all the work that they've done out there. And
pretty excited about it. Looks really good.
So did you have a comment about that?
Well, come on. up.
Yeah. I had a comment too, so you're not the last one.
Still got a comment.
Hilda Starrett, 840 Motel Drive. It's actually a request. I don't know. Rich has, the chair of FAI has been so busy with getting married and everything. I think he was going to come here and ask about if we would be allowed to do trees in the alley again this year like we did last year, but we need to let the Christmas tree place know. We have to order them. And I don't think he has asked. I think I've been at most meetings. Okay, so I didn't know if that's a big thing, if we need to wait or if we should, you know.
Are you just gonna do it in the alley?
Well, last year there were more requests and I've already had some questions about it. So I was gonna see if we could put some in the patio if need be. So.
Do they need a motion? Or do they need to fill out an event?
I don't think we filled out anything last year.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Just for setting up the Christmas trees and stuff in there and decorating them, it's not.
Okay.
Our special events request is if you're gonna have 50 people or more on public property. I don't think that's gonna be the case.
I
mean, unless you happen to have a bunch of people walking.
Sorry, I just.
Okay. That's fine. They're beautiful. They were beautiful. So, yeah. And I
So-
think if you have to put some on the patio, that's okay.
So
I don't think there's,
do we need to make a motion?
no, I don't think so.
Just do it.
Just do it. You're
Make
gonna,
sure it's safe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was nice
you'll do
last
it
year.
right. We know you'll do it right. Okay, well, somebody will. You got anything else?
That was it.
I have nothing.
I know it's late and everything. It looks like Fritz also has a comment, so maybe, I don't know. I'll keep it short, but you know, I wanted to make a quick comment about open door law in light of last week's meeting. Because, you know, as Fritz and I alluded to just now, when Bob was here, I think we both felt like there wasn't adequate discussion last week. I think some of us felt like there wasn't enough information provided before the discussion of closing High Street last week. For example, there was no traffic data provided to us in advance to support the assertion that High Street's not safe. We did receive the traffic data after the vote. I personally don't think that the data bears out the assertion that High Street's unsafe. That's my opinion. I looked at some spreadsheets. I really didn't see a lot of accidents at High Street. These are all things that we should have discussed in person in front of you all. That's what open door law is about. Open door law is kind of a funny law because there are very particular line items in it that say, oh, you know, only 2 of us could meet at a time outside of these meetings, not 3 of us. And, you know, and the point of that is so that we don't meet up and confer. We don't meet up and exchange ideas and make up our minds outside of the public eye. We're not supposed to exchange lots of emails or lots of information. We're not supposed to sort of gauge each other's feelings and thoughts about things by email. And so a lot of times that leads to not much information getting shared in advance at all before the meeting. But in this case, I believe that some people here knew a lot more about the proposed topic by way of meeting with NDOT and knowing about the plans there. Some of us, like myself, knew very, very little, and the quality of the material that was shared was very poor. We received on Thursday before the meeting a 2-page memo from Mr. Phelps of MCCOG, which I guess is some sort of consulting group about the construction. It didn't really explain very much that we could have discussed in advance. And, so I just wanted to share my thoughts about that. I think that maybe we need to reflect internally as a board about how to get a better balance of useful information shared in advance and not conferring in advance, even in serial, even if person A speaks with person B and then person C and then person D. That doesn't break open door law, but it still amounts to a block of people who have all confirmed to person A that they agree about it, and it leaves person E and F in the dark. So I just wanted to put that out there because a lot of people were upset on Facebook, and I wanted to make a
Do you want
comment.
to specifically talk about what you're talking about? Though? Like, I mean, you're throwing some allegations out. Do you want to specifically say what you mean?
Joe said by email that he spoke with different people up here in serial about this matter, and that he and Tanya already were conferring with NDOT. And there's nothing wrong with conferring with NDOT. It's a good thing that town representatives meet with NDOT. But in the end, some people know more about stuff than other people.
That's when you ask.
I would think that you would just tell us what
If
you've
thi-
heard from
If
NDOT.
things come up on the agenda, this is what I have a problem with. If things come up on the agenda and we know about it and you have questions about it, you need to start asking about it before we get here. I do the work before I get here. I find out what's on our agenda. I understand it before I get here so that we can collectively have our opinions, but I have something to discuss because I've looked at it. So if you were unsure or uncertain about what was going to happen, you should have reached out to somebody and asked.
Tanya, I expressed interest in going to the biweekly NDOT meeting, and you said that you thought that I didn't need to go. And I said that that's fine as long as you share with us what you hear from them.
Okay.
And so you didn't.
No.
And so we need a little bit more information sharing and a little bit less of people talking to each other about what they think about things.
It still remains true. If you have questions, you can call somebody and ask.
That's fair.
And that didn't happen.
And you also didn't tell us. So that's it. That's fine. We should have a little bit more information.
I didn't know anything about it ahead of time, just so you know.
And neither did I.
And I'm not complaining about it. I figured it
Okay.
out.
I live here in this town too, and I have my whole life, and that has always been a dangerous intersection. So I really didn't need to do a lot of thought. I've witnessed it. I see it at least once a week, the things that happen over there because people do not obey the signs. So I know that it's a dangerous intersection. I don't have a problem with it going away.
That's your one opinion, and
That's right.
we should be able
But
to have data.
that's how I made my decision
we should
based
ha-
on what I know.
We should have data.
You need
about
data.
it.
I don't need data. Because I live here and I see
Everybody
it.
I've spoken with in town finds that that's
That's
not a
fine.
dangerous
You-
intersection.
Your
example,
process is a little bit different than
Merrill
mine.
Street at Broadway is dangerous. We all know that. High Street at Broadway, not dangerous. I haven't found a single other person who thinks that it is.
It's just a matter of
13 on Broadway, dangerous before the light went in. Okay, but High Street not. And the data didn't back it up. I appreciate that the data was provided. I just wanted to point that out. Open door law is a little bit tricky. It's hard to deal with. I run afoul all the time asking, can we just exchange big mass emails? And I keep being told by Alex, no, we're not supposed to do that. So it's difficult. We're not supposed to exchange a lot of data, but we have strong opinions getting formed in silos, and but not everybody gets all the data.
That's what you think's happening, but that's not what's happening. It doesn't happen that way.
I don't
We're
think
all
it's
wrong.
happening.
We're all wrong. Well,
No,
fine,
but don't
you,
call me a
Tanya.
liar either, because I'm not. You know, this is something that's very personal to me. I live here and have lived here my whole life. So I'm not here just to make decisions based on nothing.
That vote was very rushed and didn't have much information.
And that's your opinion, and you're entitled to
I'll
that.
say, Adam is very good at sending us information in advance, brief summaries to help us be more aware of what's going on in advance of what's happening. We don't have to discuss it or, share any opinions about it. This particular topic did not have any information exchanged, but we were presented with the premise that obviously High Street's very dangerous and has to close. And I don't think that everybody would even agree with that premise. Not that we have to. That's what you have a
Well, I
discussion
think
about.
NDOT does, because that's the reason why it got brought up.
Well, the discussion was very truncated and rushed. That's all I'm saying. There were other things we would have liked to discuss, but we weren't really given an opportunity. And I would not like to see conduct like that again. I didn't care for it. That's my 2 cents during my open comment period.
Fritz, you got anything?
Yeah, I've done some research on Dora the last month. I've had a good time. I've gone around to these little towns and checked them out. I went to Noblesville and Yorktown and Richmond. Now Richmond's Dora is kind of interesting. They put it off into this more the old town district where they're redoing the sidewalks, and it looks pretty interesting. It looks like it's gonna make a go of it. But I brought this back for the council to take a look at. The Noblesville bought these to get an upstart. I think they bought 3,000 cups and they distributed them to the different restaurants in the area. And all their doors are barcoded, and it talks about the Dora. And some restaurants are doing better at, promoting it than others, but it looked promising. I was going to ask the RDC for the cups.
That's
these
cool. It
drink
has,
covers or coasters, Fritz, because they would work for both.
Yeah, they could pop,
has the
a,
cute-
pop a hole in, put a straw in it.
I honestly was just wondering if people were to walk out with their 2 drinks, if they put the cover on one. And I don't know.
but the QR code takes you to their website, the Noblesville's website, and it has like information on the Dora, the boundaries of the Dora. I think that's pretty cool, you know.
Richmond's a bigger town than we are, but they have a full-time coordinator that's just trying to build their marketing part of it, just because Richmond's lost probably 20,000 residents in the past 20 years.
Ritz, did you see anything like this in the other communities that you went to?
Yeah, I didn't, not the coasters, but the cups.
Do they have the QR code that goes to like the
Yes,
boundary?
yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Nice.
Okay, thank you.
Did you ask anybody? Did you ask anybody like what they thought about it or anything like that when you like?
I was too busy partying.
Okay, yeah, just curious.
Also, Tammy called me. Donnie did well today. He was on a respirator, but now I think he's off now and he's doing well.
I was going to report on that, but I didn't know that I should make his medical stuff.
Thanks.
Okay. I need a motion to approve and sign vouchers.
Make a motion to approve and sign vouchers.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And make a motion to adjourn at 8:39.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for coming.